Hello, and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast pre-launch special. I'm your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and you have been granted exclusive access to the listening party of my book, Blessings in the Streets, When God Leverages Our Valley Experiences. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you have enjoyed any of the content that has been provided to you today. We will be diving into chapter 3 of the book, in which I will share a story entitled Up in Smoke. Here we go. Part of growing up as a kid included the need for me to adhere to a certain set of rules. My mom was not overly strict in terms of discipline, but I clearly did not have the same freedoms as most of my friends. One thing is for sure, I was never confused about how far I could stray away from the house. I also knew that as the flicker of the streetlights began to appear, I better be headed home. I had even trained my ears to hear my grandmother's voice calling me home as I played a few blocks away in a loud park full of kids. My skill in doing so was equivalent to a dog responding to the sound of a dog whistle, which left my friends baffled every time it happened. Homework had to be completed before I could go outside or watch any television. When I finished it, I had to leave it on the dining room table for my mom to review when she arrived home from work. If my homework was not done correctly or if any of it was sloppy, I could expect to be awakened from my bed, if necessary, to rectify the matter to her satisfaction. The list goes on, but the structure is exactly what I needed to keep me out of trouble. The last thing she ever wanted to happen was for me to pick up bad habits or behaviors that I may live to regret later in life. One habit my mom did not ever want me to pursue is directly associated with one of her own guilty pleasures. For my mom, she had it bad when it came to cigarettes. Mom would begin smoking while in her teenage years and would continue to do so consistently over the next 40 plus years at a staggering rate of nearly 2 packs a day. Her cigarettes of choice were Cool 100s, super long, in the soft pack. As generous of an individual as my mother was, the one critical mistake a person could make with her was to ask for one of her cigarettes. If you dared to do so, you just might get cussed out. Smoking for my mom, it was an addiction in its truest sense and proved to be greatly detrimental to her overall health in the years to come. Throughout our home, you would find ashtrays of all shapes and sizes. While some people might take home towels or pillows from a hotel, my mom might be inclined to grab an ashtray with the hotel logo on it. There were even times when mom was hospitalized and had an oxygen tank to support her breathing. Yet she still tried to figure out ways to get a puff or two from her cigarettes. I've lost count of the number of times mom would have extended coughing spells, barely able to catch her breath, only for her to light up a cigarette the moment the coughing ceased. One of the more popular commercials I can recall as a kid regarding smoking was the one that would advertise the big lighter. The primary catchphrase was, "Flick my Bic," and the various actors or actresses would always say something creative that rhymes along with it. My favorite one of all was, "When I want to call my chick, all I do is flick my Bic." I would repeat that saying constantly while pretending to hold a lighter in my hand. However, when I decided to use the real thing, I was in store for a result that was not anticipated. Mom had left one of her many lighters on the kitchen table. It was early in the morning and everyone was asleep. Our dog, Mickey, was the only witness to the foolishness that was about to take place. I recited my favorite line from the big lighter commercial, but this time I had a real flame before me. Unfortunately, the flame caught hold to part of the newspaper in front of me, and before I knew it, a fire was underway right there in the kitchen. To make things even scarier, the fire then caught hold to the bottom of our black and white television, which quickly started to melt. I was able to finally get the fire extinguished, but the damage was already done. I tried my best to sweep up all the evidence, but the one thing I could not make go away was the smell. All the commotion eventually awakened my mother, and by the time she came into the kitchen, It was obvious that a fire had just taken place, which meant I now had a lot of explaining to do. Knowing that I had to think of something quickly to say, I responded in the same way as any kid my age would have in this situation. I placed all the blame on our dog, Mickey. Of course, he would not be found guilty, and I was dealt with harshly for almost burning down the house. That day was my last day of imitating the Big Lighter commercial, but my mom would still err on the side of caution by keeping her cigarette lighters out of plain sight moving forward. One of my good friends who lived next door was not so fortunate, as he actually managed to set his clothes hanging in the closet on fire in a failed attempt to reenact the Big Light commercial.